So every single week, I get multiple people telling me we should get Gary Economics on. Gary Economics is if you're not subscribed, you should. An absolutely brilliant communicator in explaining economics in an incredibly easy way to understand. His latest video is titled, and the reason we're doing this now is because of the Trump thing, is titled, "What Does Elon Musk Want?" And we're just going to play a couple of short clips out of it. It's only 21 minutes, the whole thing. You should go look at it for yourself. And he coins a phrase. Now, I don't know whether this is a common phrase, but I'd never heard it before. He talks about ownership of your politicians. And this bit we're going to watch and start off with, he's talking about how we, the great unwashed, the average Joe, cannot compete, is the word he used. We can't compete anymore for the ownership of your politicians because people like Elon Musk now own them. And we can't. And I know most of you are going to go, yeah, we knew that already. Just have a listen, because he then goes into a conversation around the media as well. And this is the part I want us to talk about for 2025. You can't compete anymore for ownerships of your politician, but it would appear you can't compete anymore for your ownership, i.e. your listenership, i.e. your content, what you're taking on board for your media companies anymore. Let's have a listen to the first clip.
Which has been happening in poor countries for a long time. You know, if you speak to people from Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, a lot of places in Asia, they've been seeing this kind of corruption for a long time. In the West, we've been relatively protected by that.
Sorry, in case it misses it, the corruption he's talking about is a politician will work for little money and then will go and earn massive money after they retire from politicians. That's what he's talking about. And he's talking about Sub-Saharan Africa because in Africa, in those parts of the world, they don't actually even pay their politicians well. And because they don't pay their politicians well, when oil company X or whatever come on board with a big offering, then that's the way they do it. That's the corruption he's talking about, that we haven't really seen it in the West. And he's about to say, because we have had wealthy taxpayers, but that's changing.
A bit amount of time because we've had a wealthy taxpayer and we haven't had these super wealthy foreign billionaires who can influence our politics. As inequality has increased, the taxpayer, ordinary families have become poorer, the super rich have become richer, and you have basically found yourself in the same situation that Latin Americans and Africans have been in for a long period of time. You cannot compete anymore for ownership of your politicians with the super rich. And I think this is this classic example of why inequality matters for you. Because if you allow the super rich to get even richer and you allow the middle class to lose their assets, they will increasingly outcompete you for the things that you need. And that includes your politicians and it includes your media as well. It includes your media as well. Now, if we consider the media, if you work as a journalist, you need to be paid. Most people need to be paid. They've got to pay their rent. They've got to pay their bills. There's two ways you can be paid as a journalist, right? You can sell journalism, sell news to the people, or you can sell your services to the rich and say, if you pay me, I will sell stories that promote the ideas that you want to promote. You know, if you are an American watching this channel, you'll be very aware of where that ends up. You end up with extremely biased media. Their job is not to tell you the truth. Their job is to sell a certain story for you because they get paid by very rich people who want you to believe certain things.
So that's the first part. And I know most of you, as I said, might be going, yeah, we get all that, but the way he brings it across, and I think the idea of ownership of your politician is a really good way to think about it. And it kind of goes hand in hand with, we've said here for a long time, no politician deserves your vote, which is why when people choose not, like they make an active choice not to vote because no one suits them, I'm okay with that. Right? I'm okay with people actively going, none of these people represent me. These people aren't, I'm not okay with people just going, no, I can't be bothered. But people who actively make a choice not to vote, I'm okay with that. And for people who go, but if you don't vote for X, Y might get in. Well, then X needs to do better. X needs to win your vote. They don't own your vote. You own them. That's how it should be. You should own that politician. Chewie, do you want to jump in before we play the next bit?
No, roll on.
So the next bit's only 45 seconds. And it's talking about the oligarchy. He's talking about the wealthy. He's talking about the example he gives is Tesla stocks and what's just happened to them. And even though we're talking about Elon Musk, the point he's making is, what does inequality do? And this is a very quick example of it.
As soon as Donald Trump won the election, Tesla stock price doubled. Tesla stock price doubled. Why did Tesla stock price double when Donald Trump won the election? Because traders think that Donald Trump is going to use taxpayer money, your money, if you're an American, to give to Tesla and to give to Elon Musk. That is what inequality does. Inequality gives the rich the power to directly access your tax dollars. That is the end result. That is why you need to care about inequality. That is why you need to care about the distribution of wealth. That is why you need to care about the distribution of power.
I'd never really thought before, Chewie, about talking about inequality and then talking about taxpayer money going to a billionaire. When we think about inequality, most people probably do, think about the people at the bottom. But looking at it from what happens at the top to create the inequality, I'm not saying it's a brand new concept, but as I said, Gary Economics, he words it so well, it makes it so accessible.
What is a tax break? It's exactly that. It's taxpayer money being funneled to the super rich. The reason that Tesla's stock price doubled is because Donald Trump was talking about a tariff war with China. They are absolutely desperate. Tesla is desperate to keep the Chinese EV manufacturers out of North America. Absolutely desperate to, because he knows he has a factory in China. He can see what they're making over there. He knows that his product is not going to be able to compete with them for much longer. So for Trump to come in and say, we are going to tax the shit out of Chinese stuff to the point where it's not going to come in, that is good for Tesla. What's good for Elon is government contracts for SpaceX as well, because he has been saying the whole line that NASA is not capable of doing what he can do, or NASA's not as capable of doing it as fast as what he can do.
Yeah.
Now, there is a reason for that. You may have seen the news from the other day of what happened to Elon's latest rocket. It became a very, very fancy fireworks display. And NASA doesn't really do that very often because it's taxpayer money. So, yeah, he's got his hands out. How many government subsidies has he had for his factories? How many state governments has he lobbied for tax breaks to set up his headquarters somewhere? Like, Elon is a massive beneficiary of public money in the US. But he will sit there and he will talk about bottom feeders and he will talk about government
welfare
waste
queens
and all of those sort of things. That he's the government waste. Like, it's not like he's competing in the free market, because he's getting massive handouts and shortcuts to the benefit of his business. That's why his share price went up. That's why Trump is surrounded by tech billionaires like Peter Thiel, because his government contracts. It's the easiest money that they'll ever see, is getting government contracts.
Yeah. And it's funny because what they always complain about is government contracts paying more than market rates, and then they'll live off the back of government contracts to their companies when they add a zero.